Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken here. We're back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. Today, we're going to be talking with Mark Abraham, who just finished writing a book. Depending on when you are listening to this episode, it is either available for pre-sale at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc. Or if you're listening to it later, of course, it will be out. And this book is by Mark Abraham and David C. Edelman, and the title is Personalized Customer Strategy in the Age of AI. And boy, this is a great book. We'll get into what the book's about in just a moment. And before I do that, a quick announcement. If you have an amazing customer service story or you have a question that you'd like me to answer, you can send it to any of the social media channels. I am pretty much everywhere. And if you do have a question, be sure to use the hashtag AskShep. I'll either answer the question you send in right there in the social channel, maybe on this show, in my newsletter, the Shepherd Letter, or my TV show, which is Be Amazing or Go Home. And you can find episodes on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, Roku, or just go to beamazing.tv. That is beamazing.tv. All right, let's jump into our interview with Mark Abraham. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So I love talking to people from Boston Consulting Group. Here's why. You guys are really freaking smart. That's number one. Number two, I just geek out over some of the cool stuff that you're doing. And today we're going to be talking about personalization and what it really means, and actually what it doesn't mean. So, Mark, why don't we start off with you giving us the definition of both what it means and some of the misconceptions of what people think it means.
Yeah, personalization is an overused buzzword. I've been leading our global personalization business for over a decade. I founded it. And every time I have discussions with clients, they are confused on what is and what isn't personalization. So in my view, personalization isn't just customization, right? You can get a custom pair of Nike shoes, or you can customize your sofa bed. But product personalization is not true personalization. In my view, personalization is taking what you've learned about a customer in an interaction and making their next interaction better, faster, or more convenient.
Yeah.
So that involves using data at scale about customers.
So it's more than just using their name.
Yes.
And by the way, even when you try to use their name, if you get the wrong name, or the wrong spelling of the name, or you put the last name in front of the first name,
it happens.
It
to
destroys
all of us,
any focus on personalization.
It's one of the most annoying things. Actually, we did a survey with several thousand customers last month, and 2/3 of them had an inaccurate or inappropriate use of personalization, with misuse of names being a great example of them, or just a bad recommendation being another great example. So yeah, putting in a name is not personalization. Or even the idea of, if you bought this product, then you might like that product. If you're not truly contextualizing that based on everything you know about the customer, that's not true personalization.
Yeah. So there's macro personalization and what I refer to as micro personalization. Macro is, I think, what you're referring to. Back in the day, they referred to personas, buckets of different types of customers. People who've listened to the show know that I talk about the Nike program, where they know this customer buys running shoes, this one buys some other type of shoe, and seldom do they ever cross over in the promotion, so that people feel like, wow, Nike's actually sending me information about what I buy.
Exactly. It's this idea of really taking all the signals about you. Take travel, for example. Back in the day, you might know, oh, this is a luxury traveler, or this is a family of four going on their vacation. Segment-based personalization has been around for a long time. Now, I think with Gen AI and AI, we're really getting to an individualized view of personalization. If you go to Expedia and you play around with their chatbot, you can get very contextualized recommendations for your next upcoming trip. Or take United Airlines, for example. They just launched a retail media network. So when you're in your seat going somewhere, you're going to get personalized ads based on that travel destination for restaurants you might visit or things you might check out.
Wow, that's amazing to me. It really truly has become a personalized experience from the standpoint when you get that granular. Now, there is a creep factor, like how do they know I'm going here? Or if it's like the destination you're going to, or some other type of personalization, like they shouldn't know this about me, or maybe they should.
That's where there is a real concern about data privacy and consumers' data. I think the key is to make sure that contextually the recommendations you're making are appropriate, number one. Number two, you're getting that opt-in from customers. So there's a lot of talk about first-party data, all the data you can derive about a customer from their transactions. I really emphasize, though, matching that with zero-party data as well. What are you asking the customer? For example, do I want to be known when I walk into the store? And when I meet a store associate I have never met before, is it okay for them to know about my online shopping behavior at that same chain? Some people might want that, and it might help them find what they are getting faster. Others might be creeped out by it. So you really have to put this into the hands of the customer.
Yeah, back in 2000 and about 15, maybe 16, I was at a conference and there was a case study on stage that showed that over in Asia, a customer walked into a store. There were cameras that had facial recognition, and the salespeople in the store had earpieces. And the moment the customer walked up to the salesperson, in the earpiece started feeding the salesperson information about who the customer was, what they'd bought in the past, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's a pretty cool idea. And people who've listened to the show know that I mean, put a chip in my neck if you make my life better. I love the personalized experience. But some people might find, wow, this is crazy. How do you know that about me? And you've never met me before. Two things. Number one, what do you think of that? Number two, I like the idea of saying, welcome to the store. By the way, I don't know if you realize you have, because of the cameras and your past experience and what you've agreed to, we recognize you in the store. I've been given some information, point to your earpiece, about what you've been buying. What can I help you find today? And that earpiece, by the way, is still listening to the interaction with the customer, constantly feeding the salespeople interesting information about that customer and what they might need, what other customers like this customer have bought in the past. I mean, that is extreme personalization. It's also potentially extremely, what's the word? I'm uncomfortable for a customer, or again, like me, I think that is so cool. Give me more.
Yeah, so I love that you brought up Asia and then what has happened over the last decade. Coincidentally, actually, I founded our team in 2015, actually, doing all this work in personalization. So I've been living it every day across geographies. And when you go to China and you look at what Tencent, for example, is able to do, tying your credit card spend and financial information with your shopping habits and retailers and giving you personalized offers for local restaurants and stores and combining all of that data, that simply cannot be done in a market like the US or even more in Europe, given GDPR and all
Right.
the regulations. And customers expect different things. It shapes their expectations. But take the US and take a department store here. A few years ago, we worked with one of the largest department store chains, and we did something similar to what you're suggesting. We started with their top customers. We knew that sales associates already had an intimate relationship with them. Many of them, the best ones, were texting one-on-one with customers, telling them about a hot new item that came in or the latest collection. But they didn't really have a lot of their online data and other broader context about the customer, just what they knew about them. So we connected all channel information and served up recommendations for the associates so that if someone was shopping for shoes online, they didn't buy, but they looked interested, they could invite them in for that great shoe sales event happening in the store. Better yet, we were able to allow the associates to touch not a few dozen customers, but hundreds or even 1,000 customers, because we templatized, modularized the interactions, made it super easy for them with recommended outreach they could do every day. And that allowed them to touch not the top 1%, but the top 25% of the most valuable customers who were very much wanting that personal interaction. To your point, it wasn't 100% of people that want that a special outreach, but a lot of the most valuable customers.
Yeah. According to my notes, 80% of customers globally, this comes straight from your book, tell us that surveys are what they want. And once they do the survey, it's not that they want surveys. They expect you to use the information in the survey. And I think that's pretty powerful. There was also a comment here that your data shows that personalization leads to 10 points faster annually. What that means, 10 points faster, is more money. And the higher return to the company, it's a higher return in shareholder value. And most important, it's the highest customer satisfaction scores that a company receives when they create that personalized experience. So I want to take a short break. And when we come back, you talk about these 5 promises of personalization. So we will do that and talk about much more. The book, by the way, is titled Personalized: Customer Strategy in the Age of AI by Mark Abraham and David C. Edelman. By the way, David is a senior advisor at Boston Consulting Group. Also, he teaches, I love this because it makes it sound so much smarter, he teaches at Harvard. Oh, how cool is that? All right, we're coming right back. This is Amazing Business Radio. Don't go away. One of my favorite sayings is that customer service isn't a department, it's a philosophy. And it's a philosophy that must be embraced by everyone in the organization all the time, and that's 24/7. So if customer service is important to you, and I know it is, then you will love our virtual training, the ultimate on-demand customer service and experience training program that you can access anytime, anywhere. Now, the course content applies to everyone, regardless of position and responsibility, from senior executives to the most recently hired and everyone in between. You'll discover tips, ideas, and strategies that won't cost your company a fortune, but will produce what I call moments of magic, those positive experiences, and it will happen at every level of your organization. So go to Customer Service VT. That's V as in virtual, T as in training. That's customerservicevt.com. It's time to get customer focused.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We are back on Amazing Business Radio. We're talking with Mark Abraham about his book, Personalized: Customer Strategy in the Age of AI. By the way, available almost everywhere books are sold, including Amazon, by the way. So a great book. I enjoyed reading it. Lots of great examples I can relate to. I can definitely get into the examples about the travel industry, which we briefly touched on a few minutes ago in the first half. I also get into the financial services industry, which is really important as well. Before we get into the 5 promises of personalization, any other thoughts related to what we talked about thus far?
I just want to emphasize your point you made earlier, which is customers want and expect personalization now. To your point, 80% of them across markets, and this is even slightly higher in Asia, are demanding personalization, and it's very consistent. And yet, only 15% of companies scored at the highest level on our personalization index, which is finally a way to measure what good personalization looks like. So there's a lot of room
here.
There's a lot of room to improve. Yes.
Well, not just room to improve, but if you do it right, look at the competitive advantage that you might have.
Yes, I think personalization is finally a way to drive growth with AI. We talk so much about driving efficiency with AI, but really the potential of AI is in driving growth, and personalization
that's one of the most powerful statements you've made today. I'm sure you'll make many others, but I love that. Most people view AI as a way to create a more efficient experience for both customers and employees. It streamlines processes, allows you to do data, but this is a way to differentiate and compete and, as you mentioned, grow.
Yes, 10 points faster growth for personalization leaders, as you said before. And when you do the math, that means there's a $2 trillion prize out there for personalization leaders. And the great news from my book is it's not no longer just the digital natives. It's no longer just retailers getting this right. You can do this in any industry,
Yep.
whether
As
you're
B2B. I mean, you've
exactly
got the information.
B2B, financial services, healthcare. There are real personalization leaders out there showing the way.
Yeah. And I would think in B2B, this is extremely powerful because it's I always talk about this. It's a different play with the B2B world. You can't make mistakes. It's not like somebody walks into a mall, there's 20 stores to choose from. They may come back to this one next time or not. But in the B2B space, usually there's less choices, and whoever gets the business, it's up to that company if they're doing a good job to lose the business, not have it stolen away.
Yeah, I mean, a great example in this space is Microsoft, of course, given their investments in AI. But what you hear less about is how they're actually using this for the sales force and the sales experience. So Microsoft obviously serves many, many companies with many stakeholders as key folks in those companies. And they use AI to actually recommend the next best action for each salesperson to whom they need to reach out with what message based on all of the data, both their outreaches, but also things that those stakeholders did online. Maybe they clicked on something on the website, they attended an event. They're pulling all of that information in and making the sales force smarter and better.
Yeah, very powerful, powerful ideas. All right, we're going to kind of do a rapid fire. I'm going to give you about 1 minute for each of these 5 promises that are out of your book.
Absolutely. So the 5 promises is really a practical way to think about how you deliver great personalization. We boil it down to empower me. That's the first promise. You have to start with the customer. How are you helping them? So take Sondermind, for example, which is a mental health app. They actually survey all the brain functions you have and ways you deal with anxiety and the like to really get to know how they can shape and help your mental health journey. That's a great example of empowering the customer to take their health, in this case, mental health, into their own hands. Next is know me. To help the customer, you actually need to know them, gather data about them. And there's so much data you can derive from the transactions, of course, but personalization leaders are going beyond that and finding ways to engage customers to collect data in between, or even ask them. A great example is Lululemon. When you walk into their stores, they'll get your email, they'll send you their e-receipt. Then that establishes a whole digital engagement experience where they can collect data about what you like, what you don't like. And they do that online as well, in addition to just using the data from your transactions in the store. Third is reach me. Now we're getting into the cool AI intelligence.
This is a marketing strategy.
Yeah, so how do I actually know when to reach out to you with what message and to make that really relevant? And that's where next best action, AI, machine learning come into play. Lots of companies, for example, Starbucks, when they launched the personalized offers in their app, they're using AI and machine learning to decide what's that best offer to give to you versus the other customers.
My favorite offer from them, by the way, is on my birthday when they offer me a free drink.
Yep, exactly. But if you go into the app right now,
personalization, right?
You can find very specific beverages or food items that have been selected for you to buy in the next week, and super effective. They've seen about 8% growth in their loyalty customers as a result.
By the way, I'm going to hit that number. 8% growth. What does that mean? That means 8% found income is a result of the personalization strategy. And when we're done with these 5, I just want you to come back and say, tell us like how hard or easy, how difficult or simple it is to start a personalization strategy. Because I don't think it's all that hard to do. You just have to kind of know where to begin. So go ahead. I interrupted you. I know what the next one is because I have a list here myself.
So now you have to get to the content, and I call this show me. What are you actually going to show the customer? which is all about not just creating these pieces of content by hand, one at a time, which is what we used to do. It's about building a content library, using content management systems and automation to deliver this content at scale. Beauty companies and fashion companies are doing this in an awesome way, really transforming their content strategies. So if you take Pandora, for example, one of the largest jewelry brands in the world, they've automated and modularized a lot of the content that's used for personalization. So they can give you the right gift recommendations to buy for the holidays, for example. And last is Delight Me. So this is about actually turning around and making that personalized experience seem magical. This boils down to speed. So you've got to experiment quickly and turn around the learnings of those experiments so that you're making the next experience better. If you go into the DoorDash app, for example, they're running hundreds of experiments, micro experiments with thousands of customers all the time. All the digital natives like Spotify or Uber do this too, so that they're slightly improving the app experience every single day.
Yep. So delighting is important. You mentioned speed is very important because any information you have today, if you wait 6 months to use it, number one, customer's probably going to wonder, why am I getting this today? But if you did
Yes.
it 6 days later, it's like, oh, I just bought something from the last week. They're making a valid recommendation or sending me the appropriate message that I need.
Yeah, you mentioned travel, and their time is absolutely critical. There's actually a 24-hour golden window after a customer books a trip where you can really have effective personalization and add-on sales, but also just make their experience much better if you engage them in the right way. So we worked with one of the world's largest airlines on really curating all those personalized messages, and we tripled the conversion post-booking using personalized approaches.
It's one thing to say, check this out. It's another thing to say, Shep, that's my name, Shep, Shep. We see you're flying to whatever city. Here's some information about booking a car, booking a hotel, whatever. And that is an add-on, but it's an add-on that includes me, what I'm doing, not just some general ad. We can book your hotel for you as well. That's just a made up example, but I think you're shaking your head. The people can't see that you're shaking your head because they're probably listening to us, but that means he's shaking it in agreement, which is great.
Yes, exactly. No, just a practical tip too, if you can go into your customer database and think through what are the paths that customers take. I call it the engagement ladder. These are natural pathways customers take to higher loyalty, higher engagement with your brand. Really understanding those and then building personalized ways to reinforce those and encourage those is a great way to build customer loyalty.
Yeah, you've got to have the information. Without the data, you can't create measurement. You can't create everything else is guesswork. So real quickly, is this an expensive thing to do?
So 2 points on that. The world's largest brands are making massive investments here. When you add up the technology, the tools, the data, and the people investments they're making, you easily get to tens of millions of dollars that they're spending annually, both in terms of CapEx investments as well as ongoing investments on things like software licenses. That being said, though, we've come a long way over the 10 years I've been running teams on this. And there's a lot more off-the-shelf software as a service you can use, quickly plug and play. And getting started, or even many people have started, taking that next step can be cost effective for smaller companies as well. We talked a bit about restaurants with Starbucks. Take someone like Sweetgreen that only started 15 years ago. They've actually been able to, at a much smaller scale, replicate a lot of the same personalization in their app, in their recommendations and their offers that larger chains like Starbucks or McDonald's have been able to do.
Yep. And I've seen some of the solutions. They're not all that expensive. And I actually asked about simplicity or ease of getting into this. A software program like that, if that's where you start, they should lay it out for you step by step exactly what to do. So it isn't super complicated. You just need to set it up the right way.
And you need to prioritize. It comes back to this empower me. Are you going to get the most bang for the buck for the customer by personalizing what offers or discounts they get, or what recommendations you make to them, or what the sales associate is helping them with? Pick one and then figure out what data, what technology you can use most cost effectively to help you get a little bit better.
Excellent. So we're down to the very last question, and I can't believe we're out of time. I could talk about this for a long time. And again, the book is titled Personalized: Customer Strategy in the Age of AI by Mark Abraham and David C. Edelman. And it, again, is available everywhere books are sold. Final question. One last nugget from the book. Is there some like, oh my gosh, I've got to let the whole world know about this idea straight out of the book? What is it going to be?
So the good news is now you can finally measure personalization. I call it the personalization index. We've put a lot of time and thought and all our decade of learnings into crafting it. Finally, a way to actually see where you are on that personalization journey. Check it out. The book has all the details, including lots of questions you can ask yourself and your team, depending on where you are on the index, ways to improve and ways to get better, because all of us have opportunity, as we said at the beginning. And the last thought is just get going.
Just
accelerate your journey.
Or as Nike would say, just do it.
Just do it. Exactly.
That's great. And you should. So for anybody that hasn't thought about personalization and think, wow, this could be interesting, the book is your place to start. For those that already have a good personalization experience for the customers and employees, the book is a good place to get confirmation and additional ideas. So, Mark, thanks so much for being on our show today. This is why we call it Amazing Business Radio.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another great interview, and I know we're going to have another one next week, so please come back. In the meantime, this is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.